right here.
Yeah, say it again.
Okay, so now that we have the 1 over 2 right here, we can distribute it into the series. And that's what I did right here. Since this negative x over 2 to the n would really be negative x to the n over 2 to the n. I did 1 over 2 times negative x to the n over 2 to the n. And then since this negative x to the n is essentially just negative 1 to the n times x to the n, so you can pull out the negative 1 to the n. And then since 1 times 1 to the negative 1 to the n is equal to itself, then we have negative 1 to the n times x to the n. And then since you know the rule with exponents, where if you multiply two numbers of the same base that have different exponents, you add them, that's how you get 2 to the n plus 1. So then this is this expression as a power series. And then when we have to determine the interval of convergence, well, we can go back and look at the geometric series that we set up before. And since delta r has to be less than 1 for the interval of convergence, or not delta r, sorry, absolute value r has to be less than 1 for the interval of convergence, that would mean that since the r value is negative x over 2, you'd have to set it in between 1 and negative 1, and then you multiply by 2 on both sides in order to get rid of that fraction right there, and then you'd multiply by negative 1 on all sides in order to get rid of this negative. But then the inequalities are going to flip, but it won't really matter because it's still going from 2 to negative 2, and it would have been the same. And then since we have our endpoints here at negative 2 and 2, we test the negative 2 value to see if there's convergence, and then after you simplify it out, it ends up being just 1 to the n, which we know by geometric series test. Since the absolute value of r is equal to 1, it's not less than 1. It diverges by a geometric series test. And the same thing basically happens for testing the value of 2, the other endpoint, because since the absolute value of r is negative, or is 1, it's the same thing as this, where it's going to diverge by the geometric series test. And then the interval of convergence, since the negative 2 and the 2 aren't included because it diverges there, we have to use the parentheses, and then this is the interval of convergence.
Hold on, pause.